Welcome. In this quick video, we're just going to look at setting up our design parameters. So this is a good idea just to come in and double check this before you start drawing your drainage system, although you can make these changes even when you have an existing system and apply it to any runs that you have already done. So what you need to do is just come to the design tab, so the middle tab. And then where we have the design parameters, there's a little settings button here. So you're going to click on that. And this is where all of the defaults are set. So once you've set this up, it should save even for future sessions. It'll save as a little cache cookie in your browser. And it should be around for a little bit so you can see this hopefully in the future without having to make changes. So you've got at the top some options for surface drainage. So if you're creating surface drains, you can set your minimum depth and maximum depth. So the defaults are 0 and 12 inches. You can also set the minimum acceptable grade. The default is 0.05. Again, you can change that to whatever you're comfortable with. And we also have an implement width. So this is used to estimate the volume of cubic yards that will be required to move. And it's just based on the ditch bottom width. It's not accounting for any side slopes, anything like that. That's purely just based on assuming that the implement width and the ditch bottom. So again, feel free to make adjustments as you need there. And then we have our tile drainage settings. So there's a few more settings here. And this, again, the defaults are a minimum depth for laterals of 24 inches and a minimum depth for mains of 36 inches. Again, feel free to change that to whatever you normally work with. There's a maximum depth which applies to both laterals and mains. Default is 60. Again, you can change that to whatever you need it to be. A minimum grade of 0.1% is the default. And then we also have target depth settings for laterals and mains. So the way that the system works is it'll first try and fit within your bounds of your minimum and maximum depth, just like your grade control system will out in the field. And then if it can do that, it'll then try and, if possible, aim for your target depth. Obviously, it's not always going to be able to do it, but that's where you set that as well. So we have a default of 30 for laterals and 42 inches for mains. And then we also have some default tile sizes. So the only one here that you need to set really is the lateral, because we have auto sizing for the mains anyway, so you can auto size your mains afterwards. I would just leave that as unassigned, it doesn't matter. But for lateral size, so you can choose 3, 4, 6, 8 or 10 depending on what you're doing. The default is 4 inch, and you can also choose whether you're running a regular perforated, a narrow slot or a filter sock depending on your setup. And again, you can change this afterwards, but if you know that you're always working with a particular perforation type, a particular tile type, for example, then you can just set that up in here. And then when you create your reports later on, that'll pull through, and then you'll see exactly how many feet of the different configurations. You can always change this as well on a run-by-run basis. So once you've set it up, you can just hit Save Changes. Again, if you've come in here after you've already created some runs, you can set this up and then you can apply to the existing lines, and it should then apply those settings. Whatever you've set in here should apply to anything that you've already created. So you just hit save, and then you can just click anywhere away from that box to close it. So that's how you set up your defaults. And in the next video, I'll start to walk you through how we actually start to build and design and draw our drainage systems using Geo-Surface. So I'll see you then.